You ever felt that need to just get away from it all? The boring work, the stressful home life, all the chores, and all the bad games you've been playing because you're not that great at playing games? Well, a vacation in some remote island would be the best. The thing is, not all islands are the tropical paradise that you usually think they are. There are a lot of islands that are best stayed away from, kinda like the islands on our list today. Number 1 is especially dangerous, and setting foot on there is almost the same as stepping into a nuclear reactor. Stay tuned to find out where it is as we give you 10 of the most dangerous islands you never want to visit. Number 10. North Sentinel Island. We've actually talked about North Sentinel Island before. NSI is a small landmass in the Bay of Bengal, India. Its indigenous population, known as the Sentinelese, rejects any contact with the outside world and remains one of the few peoples that remain untouched by our civilization. They value their privacy so much that they go to extreme measures to keep the rest of the world out. How do they keep outsiders away from their island, though? Well, they kinda just shoot arrows in them. For this reason, it's impossible to approach the island and survive the encounter. Just how antisocial are the Sentinelese, though? Well, when researchers were assessing the damage after the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, even their helicopters were attacked by the Sentinelese. None of them were hurt, of course, but this example shows how fiercely the island's population is protecting their territory. Number 9. Snake Island. Okay, do I really need to explain this one? Yeah, okay. Snake Island is home to a huge population of snakes. Big shock. According to some estimates, there's one snake in each square meter of the island. The problem is, these aren't just your normal garden variety snakes. They just so happen to be one of the most venomous snakes in the world, the golden lancehead viper. This viper's venom is very fatal to humans, and is so fast-acting that it can finish its job in under an hour. Its venom also causes immense pain as it has muscle-destroying properties. Numerous local legends tell of the horrible fates that awaited those who wandered onto the shores of Snake Island. Rumor has it a hapless fisherman landed onto the island in search of bananas, only to be discovered days later in his boat, lying in a pool of blood with snake bites on his body. No word of the bananas, though. From 1909 to the 1920s, a few people did live on the island in order to run its lighthouse. Nobody lives there permanently anymore, most likely because of what happened to the last lighthouse keeper and his entire family, which fell victim to only one of these snakes, and well, they didn't live to tell the tale. Number 8. Miyakejima Island. Miyakejima is one of Japan's Izu Islands, an archipelago just south of Tokyo. Here the land rests atop an active volcanic chain that has erupted 6 times in the last century. However, the danger isn't just from volcanic eruptions, but from the highest concentrations of poisonous gases in the world regularly leaking up through the ground. In 2000, a mass evacuation was instituted due to extremely high levels of toxic gas in the area after a series of eruptions from Mount Oyama, the main volcano on the island. All flights into the area were stopped for over 8 years due to the high levels of sulfur as well. Miyakejima residents were finally permitted to return to their normal routines in 2005, though residents are required to carry a gas mask with them at all times. Although Miyakejima appears frightening and almost post-apocalyptic, tourists can, in fact, visit the island. Aside from the dangers of poisonous gas, parts of the island are extremely lush, and apparently the scuba diving is a beautiful experience filled with dolphin sightings. Number 7. Bikini Atoll. The archipelago of the Bikini Atoll is considered an incredibly dangerous recreation site. It has not gained this reputation because of the strong undercurrents or dangerous sea dwellers, it's because one of the most dangerous things man has ever made is there. In 1946, the United States chose this magical island as a nuclear test site. For 12 years, hydrogen and atomic bombs were regularly tested on this island. The islands were inhabited prior to the testing, but residents were relocated to other islands before the first bomb was detonated. The islands were finally declared safe in 1997, but former residents have refused to come back to their old homes. And although radiation levels are quite safe now, nobody is allowed to eat any food grown on the island. The funny thing is, tourism is very much allowed in the island, and they get regular visitors each year. Number 6. Grunard Island. This small island in the north of Scotland was used by the British government for biological warfare testing during the Second World War. Experiments were carried out on the uninhabited island using the highly virulent anthrax bacterium, which killed hundreds of sheep and forced the island to be quarantined. Afterwards, the poor creatures were incinerated and buried on the island, but the assumption that the highly virulent anthrax spores would then simply die off on their own. However, they were proven wrong. Ah, you silly government, you. It was in fact discovered that the anthrax was still alive and kicking, and still highly dangerous on the island's topsoil. Initial efforts to decontaminate it were unsuccessful, so the island was closed, with warning signs put up to keep out potential intrepid passers-by. And so it did remain until in the late 1980s another concerted effort was made to clean up the island. Hundreds of tons of formaldehyde were sprayed all over the island, and soil had hotspots of contamination that needed to be removed. In 1990, the warning signs were finally removed, and the island was officially declared safe to visit again. Not that many would want to go here though, and I can't figure out why. Number 5. Heard Island. Even if you could get to Heard Island, which incidentally is Australia's most remote island, chances are you still wouldn't quite see it. This little-known landmass actually hides in dense cloud for around 360 days a year. The rare few who do reach this distant wonder are more likely to hear the gurgle of molten rock bubbling up through the island's violent core. The active volcano on Heard Island, known as Big Ben, is adorned with vast glaciers stretching to the crashing waves of the ocean far below. There were a few reasons for closing the island to the public. First, in 2000, researchers noticed a huge lava flow coming from the island's massive volcano called Mawson's Peak. Second, Heard Island is known for its poor weather conditions. And third, it's too remote to be safe. Judge it by yourself, it's located in a minimum 2-week sail to the closest major landmass. Number 4. Pavia Island, Italy. Pavia Island, located less than half a mile from Venice, has such a dark and twisted history, even the locals refuse to go near it, much less set foot on it. Legends of ghosts and demons that inhabit the island are prevalent, and basing on the island's dark history, some of these legends may prove to be true. It started its life as a fortification built by the Venetian government, but soon after became a quarantine section for victims of the bubonic plague or Black Death from 1793 to 1841. It's been reported that this tiny island was home to up to 160,000 people infected with the plague, all of which died helplessly on the island. In 1922, a mental institution was built on Pavia, replacing the plague victims with the mentally ill. But instead of this being an institution to help the less fortunate, local legend says what happened was completely the opposite. It is said that one doctor brutally tortured and killed a number of his patients, butchering them in unspeakable manners. The doctor himself fell victim to the same patients that he murdered, as it is said that the spirits of the dead constantly haunted the doctor, up to the point when he climbed up a bell tower and jumped to his own death. It is said that anyone who sets foot on the island today will be tormented by the evil spirits living there. The island is now off limits to the general public, and the only way for the Venetian authorities to make sure that what dwells on the island stays there is to avoid having them come in contact with the living. Number 3. North Brother Island, New York, USA. Located on the East River between the Bronx and Rikers Island, North Brother Island is an island with a fascinating and tragic history. It was uninhabited until 1885, when the city purchased the island in order to build the Riverside Hospital. This hospital was for people suffering from contagious diseases such as typhus, tuberculosis, yellow fever, and smallpox. The island's most famous resident was Typhoid Mary Milan, who bore the unfortunate distinction of being the United States' first documented asymptomatic carrier of the bacteria that causes typhoid fever. In 1905, over 1,000 people lost their lives when the General Slocum steamship caught fire near the island. Many of the staff assisted in the rescue of some of the 321 survivors. It was the worst loss of life in New York's history, that is until 9/11. In 1963, it closed its doors for good and has been left to decay ever since. The island is officially off limits to the public, as it is a bird sanctuary for one of the area's largest nesting colonies of black-crowned night herons, and also is said to be haunted by ghosts of the past, all the regular stuff, you know. Now it's time for today's best pick. Today's pick is probably the most ominous looking island that I've seen so far, but of course we do have a couple of questions about it. Namely, what island it is, where it is, and is it really a dangerous place? Well, find out the answers next with number 2. Miyakejima Island. This island is technically a volcano crater that is partially submerged and is located in the Alalakili Channel between the islands of Maui and Kauai, and the Maui country in Hawaii. It is the remains of one of the 7 Pleistocene epoch volcanoes that formed the prehistoric Maui Island during the Quaternary period of the Cenozoic era. This currently uninhabited island may look dangerous, but it's actually a famous destination for divers. Its crescent shape protects divers inside from its waves and the channel's powerful currents, though diving also takes place at the 300-foot sheer outer wall. In the morning when winds are calmer, smaller tour boats also bring guests to snorkel off the outer wall. Before we move on, do me a favor. My analytics show that only about 15% of you watching are actually subscribed. Come on guys, what's up with that? Can you guys please hit the subscribe button? You guys watch my videos every day anyway, so you might as well subscribe and keep up to date with every video we put out. Number 1. Bear Island. Despite its name, Bear Island isn't actually filled with bears. In fact, nothing much lives there at all. Instead of an island, it most resembles a huge rock in the middle of the ocean, located between mainland Norway and Spitsbergen Island. This is a rather mysterious destination due to the perpetual fog hovering over the rocky shores. While approaching the southern coast, the cliff wall appears like a moving wall of seabirds, with thousands of kittiwakes and murres on the narrow ledges and glaucous gulls breeding at the top, which basically comprises all the life living on the island. But what makes it really dangerous is that a Soviet nuclear submarine sank roughly 100 nautical miles southwest of this spot in 1989 and leaked radioactive material into the water. This may have damaged the island's soil too. Additionally, experts think the development of the Snovit gas field has also forever altered the climate. Would you be willing to set foot in any of these dangerous islands? Let us know down in the comments section down below. Also check out our other videos on the world's most fascinating places. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Later, everybody!